species and what it means for diplomatic families. Which brings news traveled fast through the academy. Within days, every student knew about the human who had formed a pack bond with 3 creche cubs. Maya hadn't expected the story to spread so quickly, and she definitely hadn't expected what happened next. It started with a Vexian student. The Vexians were a species with tentacles and bodies that glowed with different colors when they communicated. This particular student approached Maya after class one afternoon. "Lieutenant Sullivan, I heard about your arrangement with the cubs," the student said through their translation device. "I was wondering if the academy might consider installing moisture pods in the dormitories. I've been having trouble with the dry air here, but I didn't think anyone would help with such a specific problem." Maya felt bad that the student had been suffering in silence. "You should definitely ask. The academy just created a new student services office specifically for requests like this. Let me give you the contact information." Within a week, moisture pods were being installed in several dormitory rooms. Then 2 Theran siblings came to see Maya. The Therans were tall, blue-skinned beings who lived in bonded pairs their entire lives. The academy had assigned the 2 siblings to separate quarters because that was the standard policy. "We heard that the creche cubs were allowed to stay together," one of them said. "We've been struggling alone in separate rooms. Could we request to share a space?" Maya sent them to student services. Their request was approved the same day. More students started coming forward. A species that got energy from sunlight needed more exposure to the station's lights. A species from underground worlds needed darker, quieter spaces. A telepathic species needed shielded rooms to block out the mental noise from thousands of beings living close together. Maya found herself at the center of an unexpected revolution. The academy had been running on a one-size-fits-all model, and she had accidentally proven that model didn't work. "You've caused quite a stir," a deep voice said behind her one day. Maya turned to find Ambassador Varrock standing there. The creche ambassador was impressive in person. He was much larger than his cubs, with a tall crest decorated with diplomatic medals and ribbons. His 6 legs moved with powerful grace, but Maya noticed his eyes looked tired, and his tail drooped slightly. "I didn't mean to cause problems, Ambassador," Maya said carefully. "Problems?" Varrock's crest flashed with what looked like amusement. "Lieutenant, you've done what I could not. My cubs are thriving now. They talk about you constantly. Shara's teachers say her academic performance has improved dramatically. Kelvin is making friends with students from other species, and young Mort no longer cries himself to sleep every night. They're wonderful children," Maya said. "They just needed stability and someone to care about them." "They needed a pack," Varrock corrected. "Something I have failed to provide. The negotiations I'm conducting will determine trade routes for the next 50 years. The economic future of billions of creche depends on my success here. But while I've been securing my people's future, I've neglected my own children's present." Maya heard the guilt and pain in his voice. "You're doing important work, Ambassador. Your children understand that, do they?" Varrock's crest drooped. "Or do they simply know that I choose my work over them every single day?" "Maybe it doesn't have to be a choice," Maya suggested gently. "Maybe it's about finding balance. I'm not trying to replace you, Ambassador. I can be part of their pack while you do what you need to do. When your negotiations finish, you'll still be their father. That bond doesn't break." Varrock studied her for a long moment. "You've given them something I couldn't. You've shown them that pack bonds can form between completely different species. You've taught them that family isn't just about blood and biology. That's a lesson worth more than any trade agreement." He paused, then continued. "I wanted to tell you something else. The Galactic Council has been watching what you've done here. They're impressed. This could change how we handle diplomatic families across all council stations." Maya felt overwhelmed. "I was just trying to help 3 scared kids. Sometimes that's how the biggest changes start," Varrock said. The next morning, Director Quillith called yet another meeting. Maya was getting very familiar with the director's office. "The Galactic Council has made a decision," Quillith announced. "Your methods are being documented as a new framework for cross-species integration in diplomatic settings. They're calling it the Sullivan Protocol." Maya nearly dropped her coffee. "They're calling it what?" "The Sullivan Protocol," Quillith repeated. "Your approach with the creche cubs demonstrated something we've suspected but never implemented. Successful integration requires honoring each species' biological and cultural needs, rather than forcing everyone to conform to a standard model. The Council wants to implement this philosophy across all diplomatic stations in Council space. That seems like a lot to base on one situation with 3 cubs, Maya protested. It's not just them anymore, Commander Logan said. 17 other students have come forward with needs that are now being met. Academic performance is up 40% across the entire academy. Disciplinary incidents are down 60%. And parent satisfaction ratings have increased dramatically. Plus, Quileth added, several ambassadors from other stations have contacted us. They want to implement similar programs where they're working. You've started something significant, Lieutenant. Maya thought about the 3 cubs who had been howling in distress just a month ago. Now they waited for her every day with wagging tails and bright, happy crests. I just wanted to help them feel less alone. And in doing so, you've helped redesign how we approach interspecies cooperation, Quileth said. The Council believes this could improve diplomatic relations across the board. When children of different species learn to form real bonds, they carry that understanding into adulthood. You're shaping the next generation of diplomats and leaders. Maya felt the weight of that responsibility. What do you need from me? For now, just keep doing what you're doing, Pat said. Document your interactions with the cubs. Write down what works and what doesn't. We'll compile everything into a training manual for other stations. And be prepared for visitors, Quileth added. Other academy directors will be coming to observe your methods firsthand. Over the next few weeks, Maya's life became much busier. She still met with the cubs every day, maintaining their routine. But now she also had meetings with council observers, interviews with researchers studying cross-species bonding, and requests from other stations wanting advice. The cubs noticed the change. One afternoon in the garden, Shara asked, "Are you becoming famous because of us?" Maya laughed. "I guess so, but I'm not sure I like it very much. I preferred when it was just us." "We preferred that too," Kelvin admitted. "But we understand. You're helping other cubs like us. That's a good thing to do." "You're very wise for someone so young," Maya said. "Our pack mother taught us well," Mort said proudly. Pack mother. The cubs had started calling her that a week ago. Every time they said it, Maya felt a mixture of pride and sadness. Pride because they trusted her so completely. Sadness because she knew her time at the academy was limited. But she pushed those thoughts away. She would face that problem when it came. For now, she focused on the present. The academy continued to change around them. The rigid schedules were replaced with flexible time blocks. Species-specific accommodations became standard instead of rare exceptions. The dining hall started serving meals appropriate for different biologies at different times. Quiet rooms, bright rooms, humid rooms, and cold rooms were created for students who needed them. Most importantly, the staff started asking students what they needed instead of assuming they knew. Simple questions like, "What makes you comfortable?" and "How can we help you learn better?" led to dozens of small improvements that made huge differences. Maya watched it all happen with a sense of wonder. She had just wanted to help 3 lonely cubs. She never imagined it would lead to this. One evening, as she walked back to her quarters after saying goodbye to the cubs, Pat fell into step beside her. "You know," Pat said, "when I first approved your assignment here, I thought it was just bureaucracy. Earth needed representation at the academy, so we sent someone. I never expected you to actually change anything." "I didn't plan any of this," Maya said. "The best changes usually aren't planned," Pat replied. "They happen because someone sees a problem and decides to fix it. Consequences be damned. You saw 3 scared kids and decided to help them. Everything else grew from that one simple decision." "Do you think it will last?" Maya asked. "After I leave, will they keep doing things this way?" Pat was quiet for a moment. "I think you've proven something that can't be unproven. Everyone has seen how much better things work when we accommodate individual needs. They can't go back to the old way now. The cubs won't let them, and neither will the other students." Maya hoped Pat was right, but doubt nagged at her. The galaxy was huge and old and set in its ways. Could 3 cubs and 1 human really change something so fundamental? She would find out soon enough. Her assignment was half over. In 3 more months, she would return to Earth. The cubs would stay here with their father. The academy would continue without her. Maya just hop. Maya Sullivan had been working at the Galactic Diplomatic Academy for 6 weeks when everything changed. The academy sat on a station called Verithos Prime, far from Earth, floating in space between different alien worlds. Maya was a lieutenant in Earth's diplomatic service, and her job was simple: teach alien students about humans and help the academy understand what humans needed. The station was huge. Hundreds of aliens walked through its halls every day. Some had scales, some had tentacles, and some looked like walking crystals. Maya had gotten used to most of them by now. But she still felt lonely sometimes. Earth was very far away, and even with fast ships, going home took weeks. The academy was like a school for alien children. Their parents were ambassadors and diplomats who worked on the station, making deals and writing treaties. The kids stayed at the academy to learn about other species and cultures. Most of them were teenagers, or at least the alien version of teenagers. Maya taught 3 classes a week. She showed the students pictures of Earth, taught them basic English words, and answered questions about human customs. The students were curious but polite. Everything was going well. Then the creche cubs arrived. Maya first heard about them from the other teachers. 3 young creche had come to the academy with their father, Ambassador Varrock. The creche looked like wolves from Earth, but bigger and stranger. They had 6 legs instead of 4, and colorful crests on their heads that changed color based on their feelings. Their fur was thick and gray, and their eyes were bright amber. The 3 cubs were having problems. The academy staff didn't know what to do with them. They cried all the time, refused to eat, and kept the other students awake at night. The director of the academy, a being made of living crystal named Quillith, was thinking about sending them home. Maya didn't meet the cubs right away. She was busy with her own work and stayed out of academy politics. But one day during her lunch break, she went to the recreation garden looking for a quiet place to eat. The garden was beautiful. Plants from 20 different worlds grew there under a clear dome. The light was soft and purple, coming from the station's artificial sun. Maya liked to sit there and eat her lunch, usually a sandwich made from the station's food machines. The machines could make Earth food, but it never tasted quite right. That day, the garden was supposed to be empty. The schedule said no students were allowed during the second cycle. But when Maya walked in, she heard something that made her stop. It was crying. Soft, scared crying that sounded like a lost puppy. Maya followed the sound to a cluster of glowing ferns near the back of the garden. Behind the plants, she found 3 creche cubs huddled together. They were small, probably only as big as Earth dogs. Their crests were flat against their heads and colored a sick purple-gray. The biggest one was trying to comfort the other 2, but her tail was tucked low between her legs. Maya's heart hurt looking at them. She knew what it felt like to be scared and alone in a strange place. "Hey there," Maya said quietly. She crouched down but didn't move closer. She had read about creche body language and knew they didn't like being approached directly when they were scared. 6 amber eyes stared at her. Nobody moved for a long moment. Then the smallest cub made a small chirping sound like a question. Maya sat down cross-legged on the soft moss that covered the garden floor. She put her sandwich beside her. "I'm Maya. You must be Ambassador Varrock's children. I heard you just got here." The biggest cub spoke in broken standard, the common language everyone used on the station. "Our father is always working. This place smells wrong. Everything sounds wrong. We don't belong here." "I understand," Maya said. "I've only been here a little longer than you. Everything feels different to me, too. I miss Earth." The middle cub crept forward a little bit. His crest turned a slightly lighter color. "You are the human. We learned about humans in class. You live in packs like us." "That's right," Maya said. "Humans are social creatures. We don't like being alone either." "The people who take care of us don't understand," the biggest cub said. Her crest flashed red with anger. "They make us sleep in different rooms. They make us eat by ourselves. It feels wrong. It hurts." Maya felt a wave of sympathy. She had read the information files about creche culture. They were pack animals, even more social than humans. Forcing these cubs to be alone was probably torture for them. "Would it help if you had a friend to spend time with?" Maya asked. "I have free time every afternoon. We could meet here in the garden if you want." The 3 cubs looked at each other. They seemed to have a silent conversation the way young animals did. "You would do that?" the smallest one asked. His voice was full of hope. "Sure. I could use the company anyway. What are your names?" "I am Shara," said the biggest cub. "This is my brother Kelvin and our youngest brother Mort." "Nice to meet you all," Maya said. She picked up her sandwich. "Are you hungry? I can get more food from the machines." Mort's tail wagged just a little bit. "What is that food?" "It's called a sandwich." Bread with meat and vegetables inside. It's pretty basic, but it's filling. Can we try? Kelvin asked. Maya split her sandwich into 4 pieces and handed 3 pieces to the cubs. They sniffed the food carefully, then ate it in quick bites. Their crests started to turn a healthier blue color. It tastes strange, Shara said, but good. Thank you. They sat together in the garden until Maya had to go back to work. The cubs walked with her to the garden entrance, their tails wagging now instead of tucked down. Will you come back tomorrow? Mort asked. I will, Maya promised. Same time, same place. That was 3 weeks ago. Since then, Maya met the cubs every day. They would sit together in the garden, share meals, and talk about their different worlds. The cubs taught Maya about creche culture, and she taught them about Earth. Slowly, the cubs began to change. They started eating their regular meals. They paid attention in their classes. Their crests showed healthy colors most of the time. The academy staff noticed and were happy. But what the staff didn't notice was how attached the cubs were becoming to Maya. In their minds, she wasn't just a friendly teacher. She was becoming part of their pack. And for young creche, the pack was everything. Maya didn't fully understand this either. She just knew that 3 scared children needed her, and she wasn't going to let them down. She showed up every day at the same time. She was reliable and kind. She gave them the stability they desperately needed. The cubs began to follow Maya's schedule without even realizing it. They woke up when she woke up. They ate when she ate. They went to sleep shortly after she did. Their entire day revolved around the time they spent with her. Maya's supervisor, Commander Patricia Logan, noticed the change in the cubs. Pat was happy that Maya had helped them adjust. But she was also worried. Maya was working too much, spending all her free time with the cubs on top of her regular teaching duties. You need to take a day off, Pat told Maya one morning. You've been working non-stop for 4 weeks. Take a break. Sleep in, relax. Maya hesitated. The cubs expect me every day. Send them a message explaining you need rest. They'll understand. Maya wasn't so sure, but Pat was her commanding officer. She had to follow orders. So that evening, Maya sent a message to Shara's communicator explaining that she would be resting the next day and would see them the day after. Then Maya went to her quarters, set her door to privacy mode, and fell into bed. She was so tired that she fell asleep immediately. She had no idea what was about to happen. Maya woke up to the sound of her communicator screaming. The noise was loud and urgent, the kind of alarm that meant something was very wrong. She grabbed the device and pressed the button to answer. Lieutenant Sullivan, we have an emergency. It was Harmonizer Quileth, the academy director. Even through the translation device in Maya's ear, she could hear panic in the crystal being's voice. The creche cubs are in severe distress. They are making terrible sounds and won't let anyone near them. We're afraid they might hurt themselves or others. Ambassador Varrock is in important meetings and cannot be interrupted. You need to come right now. Maya was already pulling on her uniform before Quileth finished talking. I'm coming. She ran through the station corridors, her heart pounding. What had happened? Were the cubs sick, injured? She should have known better than to change their routine so suddenly. When Maya reached the recreation garden, she heard the sound that had caused the emergency. The 3 cubs were howling. It was a terrible sound, full of pain and fear. The noise echoed through the entire section of the station. Maya had never heard anything like it. The cubs stood in the middle of the garden, their heads thrown back, howling at the dome ceiling. Their crests were pure white, a color Maya had never seen before. 6 different alien caretakers stood at a safe distance, clearly afraid to approach. How long have they been like this? Maya demanded. A Thorian caretaker, his scales showing patterns of distress, answered quickly. About 3 hours. When you didn't arrive at your normal time, they started getting agitated. Then they began howling. Nothing we do helps. Maya felt sick with guilt. She walked toward the cubs slowly. Shara, Kelvin, Mort, I'm here now. 3 heads snapped toward her at the same time. The howling stopped instantly. Mort launched himself across the garden. He was heavy and moving fast, and he nearly knocked Maya over when he crashed into her legs. He pressed his body against her, making desperate whimpering sounds. Kelvin and Shara were right behind him, pushing close to Maya from both sides. I'm sorry, Maya said, kneeling down so she could reach all 3 of them. I'm so sorry. I didn't mean to scare you. I was just sleeping. We thought you left us, Shara said. Her voice was broken and small. We thought you abandoned us like our father does. Maya's heart broke. No, I would never abandon you, I just needed to rest. Humans need more sleep than Kresh do. That's all? But you told us you would see us yesterday, Kelvin said. When you didn't come, we thought something terrible happened. Maya looked up at the assembled caretakers and Quilith, who had arrived during the reunion. We need to talk. This is about pack bonding, and I didn't realize how serious it had become. An hour later, Maya sat in Director Quilith's office. The crystal being's body refracted light into rainbow patterns across the walls. Commander Pat Logan was there too, looking concerned. Explain what happened, Quilith said. Maya took a deep breath. The Cubs have bonded with me as a pack member. Maybe even as a parent figure, since Ambassador Varrock is so absent. I didn't understand how completely they were depending on my routine. When I broke that routine without proper preparation, they thought I had abandoned them. This has never happened before, Quilith said. We've never had students form such strong bonds across species barriers. Humans and Kresh might be more similar than you think, Maya said. We're both pack animals. We're both social and hierarchical. The Cubs see me as family now, and I can't just abandon them. Pat leaned forward in her chair. Maya, you cannot be on duty 26 hours a day. You're human. You need sleep. That's not negotiable. I know that, Maya said. But we need to find a way to handle this that doesn't traumatize 3 children who are already struggling. What do you suggest? Quilith asked. Maya thought for a moment. She remembered her own childhood, how her mother had handled bedtimes and separations. We need consistency and clear communication. We need to establish a schedule that the Cubs understand and can predict. That includes my rest times. We need to teach them that my rest isn't abandonment. How do we do that? Pat asked. When I was a kid, we had something called nap time, Maya explained. It's a scheduled rest period for children. It's built into the daily routine, so kids know it's coming and know it's temporary. What if we did something similar here? The Cubs need to understand that my sleep time isn't me leaving them. It's just part of the normal rhythm of the day. Quilith's crystalline body hummed, which meant the being was thinking. You want to restructure their entire schedule around your biological needs? Not just mine, Maya said. All species have different needs. Maybe instead of forcing everyone to follow one standard schedule, we should be accommodating individual requirements. The Cubs shouldn't have to suffer because human sleep cycles are longer than Kresh sleep cycles. Pat and Quilith looked at each other. Something passed between them, some silent communication. This could change how we run the entire academy, Quilith said slowly. Maybe it should, Maya replied. The next morning, Maya gathered the 3 Cubs in their favorite corner of the garden. The spot had soft moss covering the ground and beautiful purple sunlight filtering through the dome. It was peaceful and safe. We need to talk about what happened yesterday, Maya began. 3 pairs of ears drooped immediately. Mort's tail tucked under his body. You're not in trouble, Maya said quickly, but we need to make some rules so this never happens again. First, I need you to understand something about humans. We need about 8 hours of sleep every day, usually all at once. That's much more than Kresh need, right? Shara nodded slowly. We only sleep for short periods, maybe 2 hours at most, exactly. So when I go to sleep, I'm not leaving the pack. I'm doing what my body needs to stay healthy. It's like how you 3 need to eat more often than I do. It's just a difference between our species. But you were gone for so long, Kelvin said quietly. We waited and waited, I know. And I should have explained better before I took that rest day. That was my mistake. So here's what we're going to do. Maya pulled out her data pad and showed them a schedule she had made. Every day at the start of the 3rd cycle, I'm going to have quiet time. That's when I'll sleep or rest or just be alone in my quarters. It will last about 8 hours. During that time, you 3 will have your own activities, your classes, or your own rest time. And then you'll come back? Mort asked. His voice was very small and scared. I will always come back, Maya promised. Every single day when 3rd cycle ends, I'll meet you right here in this spot. No matter what. What if something bad happens to you? Shara asked. Her crest shifted to a worried yellow color. What if you get sick or hurt during quiet time? It was a smart question. These Cubs had probably experienced loss before. Maybe that was why they were so afraid of abandonment. Then Commander Logan will come tell you immediately, Maya said. I'll make sure she knows where to find you. You won't be left wondering. You'll know right away if something is wrong. Pat, who had been standing at a distance to give Maya space, stepped forward now. You have my word, Cubs. If Lieutenant Sullivan ever can't meet you, I'll come here myself to explain why. You won't be alone. The 3 Cubs looked at each other. Some silent communication passed between them. Then Shara straightened up and her crest shifted to a more confident green color. "These are pack rules," Shara said firmly. "We understand pack rules. We can follow them." "Good," Maya said, "because you're very important to me and I want this to work for all of us." The new schedule started the next day. Maya was nervous during that first quiet time. She kept checking her communicator, expecting another emergency call. But 8 hours passed quietly. When Maya walked to the garden at the end of third cycle, she found 3 cubs waiting exactly where they were supposed to be. The moment they saw her, their tails started wagging. "You came back," Mort said happily. "I told you I would," Maya replied. But the new schedule created an unexpected problem. Maya had been so focused on helping the cubs that she hadn't thought about how her routine would affect the rest of the academy. A week later, Director Quileth called another meeting. This time several other staff members were there. "Lieutenant Sullivan, we've noticed something unusual," Quileth began. "Your quiet time is causing disruptions across multiple academy functions. Classes are being rescheduled, events are being moved, and other students are now requesting similar accommodations." Maya blinked in surprise. "I don't understand. My quiet time is during third cycle. How does that affect anything else?" A Thorian administrator named Professor Hector spoke up. His scales rippled with agitation. "The issue is that the creche cubs refuse to participate in any activities during your quiet time. They insist on waiting for you, and now several other students have noticed their dedication and are questioning why their own needs aren't being accommodated." "Oh," Maya said. She hadn't thought about that. "It's not a problem," Quileth said. "Actually, it's an opportunity. You've accidentally shown us a flaw in our system. We've been forcing all students to follow the same schedule, regardless of what their species actually needs. Your arrangement with the cubs has proven that flexible, individual scheduling produces better results." Commander Logan nodded. "The Galactic Council is actually impressed. They want us to write a detailed report about pack bonding between..." 3 months into her assignment, Maya's life had settled into a rhythm she had never expected. Every morning followed the same pattern, and she found comfort in that predictability. She would wake up in her quarters and go through her human morning routine. Coffee first, always coffee, then a shower using the station's water recycling system. Breakfast from the food machines, usually something simple like oatmeal or toast. The machines were getting better at making Earth food, though it still tasted a bit off. After breakfast, Maya would walk to the recreation garden. The cubs would already be there waiting for her. The moment they saw her coming down the path, their tails would start wagging so hard their whole bodies moved. It made Maya smile every single time. They would greet her properly, touching noses with her hands in the creche way. Then they would tell her about their previous cycle's activities. Shara usually talked about her classes, especially the one about galactic history. Kelvin would share stories about the friends he was making, cubs and aliens from other species. Mort, the youngest, mostly just pressed against Maya's leg and made happy rumbling sounds. After the morning greeting, they would walk together to Maya's first class. The cubs had rearranged their own schedules, so they had free time during Maya's teaching hours. They would attend their own classes during that time, but they always made sure to overlap with Maya's breaks. Lunch was their special time. Maya would bring her human food and the cubs would share their creche meals. The protein-rich meat the cubs ate smelled strange to Maya, but she had gotten used to it. Sometimes other students would join them, and the garden had become a natural gathering place for anyone who felt different or out of place. Maya's afternoon classes had expanded beyond basic human culture. She now taught a course called Cross-Species Social Dynamics, and it was the most popular class at the academy. Students from 15 different species attended, all wanting to understand how to bridge the gaps between their different biologies and cultures. And every day, without fail at the start of third cycle, Maya would say goodbye to the cubs and head to her quarters for quiet time. This had been difficult at first. The cubs had struggled with the separation, even though they understood it was necessary. But Maya had been consistent, never missing a single quiet time, always returning exactly when she said she would. Over time, the cubs had learned to trust the routine. Now they used Maya's quiet time for their own activities. Sometimes they rested, sometimes they studied together, sometimes they played with other students. They had learned that Maya's absence wasn't abandonment. It was just part of the day's natural rhythm. At the end of third cycle, Maya would return to the garden. The cubs would be waiting. The joy on their faces never diminished no matter how many days passed. They greeted her return like she had been gone for years instead of hours. "You know," Commander Pat said one afternoon, watching Maya and the cubs play a game that mixed human tag with creche hunting behaviors. "When you first arrived, I was worried about sending a human to a diplomatic academy. I thought it might cause more problems than it solved. But you've actually changed this entire place." Maya was breathing hard from running around with 3 energetic cubs. "I just got lucky. The cubs needed someone, and I was there." "It's more than luck," Pat said seriously. "You saw a need and filled it, even when it meant extra work and emotional risk. That takes courage." Maya watched as Mort successfully tackled his sister. Both of them tumbled across the soft moss, tails wagging, crests showing happy green and blue colors. "They've changed me too. I came here thinking I would teach aliens about humans. Instead, I've learned that we're all more similar than different. Everyone needs connection, no matter what they look like or where they come from." Pat smiled. "That's a good lesson." But not everyone at the academy was happy about the changes. A few days later, Maya was called to a meeting with several senior staff members who had concerns. "Lieutenant Sullivan," said a Corvin administrator named Supervisor Helix, "we appreciate the positive results you've achieved with the creche cubs. However, some of us worry about the long-term implications of your methods." Maya sat up straighter. "What concerns do you have?" Helix's feathers ruffled, a sign of agitation in Corvins. "You've formed an extremely deep bond with these cubs. What happens when your assignment ends and you leave? Won't that cause severe trauma?" It was a fair question, and one that kept Maya awake at night. "I've thought about that," Maya admitted. "But the alternative was letting 3 children suffer in isolation and fear. Yes, my leaving will be hard for them, but they'll have the tools to cope. They've learned to form bonds with others. They've learned that temporary separation doesn't mean permanent loss, and their father is finishing his negotiations soon. He'll be able to give them more attention." "What if that's not enough?" another administrator asked. "What if they can't recover from losing you?" Maya felt a flash of anger. Children are resilient. Yes, they'll grieve when I leave, but grief is better than the alternative. If I hadn't intervened, those cubs would have been sent home in failure. They would have learned that they couldn't adapt, couldn't survive away from their homeworld. Now they've learned they can thrive anywhere, as long as they have support and understanding. That's a gift that will last their entire lives. Director Quileth, who had been silent until now, spoke up. "Lieutenant Sullivan is correct. The psychological reports show that the cubs have developed healthy coping mechanisms and strong social networks. They will be sad when she leaves, but they will survive and continue to grow." "And what about the precedent this sets?" Helix pressed. "Are we now expected to provide personal companions for every student who struggles?" "No," Maya said firmly. "But you should be expected to recognize when students need help and provide appropriate support. That's not revolutionary. That's just good education." The meeting ended without a clear resolution, but Maya left feeling unsettled. She hadn't fully confronted the reality of her departure. She had been living day to day, focused on the present, avoiding thoughts of the future. That evening, Ambassador Varrock requested a private meeting with Maya. They met in a quiet conference room with a view of the stars. "I wanted to discuss my cub's future," Varrock said without preamble. "And yours." Maya waited, uncertain where this was going. "My negotiations are nearly complete," Varrock continued. "I'll be returning to the creche homeworld in 4 months. The cubs will come with me. I know your assignment also ends soon." "In 3 months," Maya confirmed. "I've been thinking about what happens next," Varrock said. "The cubs will need time to adjust to losing you. I want to be present for that transition in a way I haven't been present before." "They'll need you," Maya agreed. "But they'll also need to know that what they learned here wasn't wasted, that forming bonds across species barriers is valuable and real." Varrock paused. "I want to invite you to visit our home world when your Earth duties allow. Not immediately, but perhaps in 6 months or a year. The cubs should see that pack bonds can survive distance and time." Maya felt tears prick her eyes. "I would like that very much." "Good. I'll arrange it officially through diplomatic channels." Varrock's crest shifted to a warm orange color. "You've given my children something precious. You've shown them that the galaxy is full of potential friends and family, not just strangers and threats." That perspective will shape their entire lives. After Varrock left, Maya sat alone in the conference room for a long time, looking out at the stars. Somewhere out there was Earth, her home, and somewhere else was the Kresh homeworld, which she would visit someday to see 3 cubs who had become like family to her. The galaxy suddenly felt smaller and more connected than it ever had before. The next day, Maya was teaching her cross-species social dynamics class when a student asked an unexpected question. "Lieutenant Sullivan, do you think what you've done with the Kresh cubs could work with adults too? Could adult diplomats from different species form similar bonds?" Maya thought about it. "I think so. Children might be more open to it because they're still learning about the world. But adults are capable of change too. It just takes more effort and intention. So the Sullivan Protocol could apply to adult diplomacy, not just students?" Another student asked. "Maybe," Maya said. "The core principles are the same. Respect biological differences. Maintain consistent communication. Build trust through reliability. Honor cultural needs. Those things matter whether you're 8 years old or 80. She could see the students thinking about this, processing the implications. These young beings would grow up to be ambassadors, traders, scientists, and leaders. What they learned now would shape how they approached interspecies cooperation for decades to come. Maya realized that the cubs weren't her only students. She was teaching an entire generation how to see beyond surface differences and find common ground. It was a responsibility that felt both exciting and terrifying. That evening, during their regular time in the garden, Mort asked Maya a question. "Packmother, what is Earth like?" Maya smiled. "It's beautiful. We have huge oceans, mountains that touch the sky, and forests with trees so tall you can't see their tops. The air smells different than here, fresher and wilder. And there are animals everywhere, millions of different species." "Do you miss it?" Shara asked. "Every day," Maya admitted. "But I'm glad I'm her." The last month of Maya's assignment arrived too quickly. She had been dreading this time since her conversation with Ambassador Varrock. Every day felt precious now. Every moment with the cubs something to remember and hold on to. The cubs knew she was leaving soon. Maya had told them as gently as she could, explaining that her work contract was ending and she needed to return to Earth. They had taken the news better than she expected, but she could see the sadness in their eyes and the worried colors that flickered across their crests. "Will you forget about us?" Mort asked one afternoon. He was curled up against Maya's side, his small body warm and solid. "Never," Maya promised. "You 3 are part of my pack now. That doesn't change just because I'm far away." "But Earth is so far," Kelvin said. "It takes weeks to travel there, even on the fastest ships." "Distance doesn't break pack bonds," Shara said firmly, though her crest showed she was trying to convince herself as much as her brothers. "Packmother taught us that." Maya felt proud of how much they had grown. When she first met them, they had been scared cubs who couldn't function without constant reassurance. Now they were confident, social, and able to cope with difficult emotions. They would be okay without her. It would hurt, but they would survive. The academy staff had planned a formal farewell ceremony for Maya's last day. She would have preferred something quiet, but Director Quileth insisted it was important. "You've changed this institution," Quileth said. "We need to honor that properly." The ceremony was held in the academy's main hall. Students from 30 different species attended, along with their parents and the diplomatic staff from across the station. Maya stood on a small stage, feeling uncomfortable with all the attention. Director Quileth gave a speech about the Sullivan Protocol and how it was being implemented across 12 different council stations already. Commander Pat talked about Maya's dedication and adaptability. Ambassador Varrock spoke about the difference Maya had made in his cubs' lives. Then the cubs themselves came forward. They had prepared something without telling Maya. Shara spoke first. "Packmother Maya taught us that being different doesn't mean being alone. She showed us that family can come in any shape or form. Because of her, we learned to make friends with beings who don't look or think like us. That's a gift we'll carry forever," Kelvin continued. "She also taught us about consistency and trust. Every day she showed up exactly when she said she would. Every promise she made, she kept. That taught us how to be reliable pack members ourselves." Mort, the youngest, finished. His voice was small but clear. "Most importantly, Packmother taught us that love doesn't have limits. Humans and Kresh are very different, but we became family anyway. That means we can make family with anyone who treats us with kindness and respect. Maya was crying by the time they finished. She knelt down and hugged all 3 cubs at once, not caring that the entire academy was watching. After the ceremony, there was a reception with food from dozens of different worlds. Maya tried to talk to everyone who approached her, but it was overwhelming. Students she had taught, staff members she had worked with, even ambassadors from other stations who had traveled specifically for this event. Finally, she managed to slip away to the recreation garden. She needed a few minutes of quiet before the transport that would take her back to Earth arrived. But the garden wasn't empty. The 3 cubs were there, waiting in their usual spot. "We knew you'd come here," Shara said. Maya sat down on the soft moss. "You know me too well." They sat together in comfortable silence for a while, just being together one last time in the place where their friendship had begun. "I don't want you to go," Mort said finally. "I know you have to, but I don't want it." "I don't want to go either," Maya admitted. "But sometimes we have to do things we don't want to do. Like when you made us follow the quiet time schedule," Kelvin said. "We didn't want to do that at first, but it made things better." "Exactly like that," Maya agreed. Shara's crest shifted through several colors before settling on a determined blue. "Father says you'll visit us on the homeworld next year. Is that true?" "If everything works out, yes. I'll need permission from my superiors, but Ambassador Varrock is helping arrange it through official channels." "Then we'll see you again," Shara said. "This is just temporary separation, like your quiet time." "He'll come back." Maya marveled at how mature Shara sounded. "That's exactly right. I'm not leaving the pack. I'm just going to rest in my own way, in my own place." "But the bond we formed doesn't break, promise?" Mort asked. "I promise I'll try my absolute hardest to visit. And even if I can't come right away, we can have video calls. We can still talk and see each other, just through screens instead of in person." The transport's departure warning sounded across the station. Maya had 15 minutes to get to the docking bay. "I have to go now," she said, her voice breaking. The cubs stood up with her. They walked together through the academy halls one last time. Other students and staff watched them pass, some waving goodbye to Maya, others just observing this final moment between a human and 3 creche cubs who had become family. At the docking bay entrance, Commander Pat was waiting. She would accompany Maya on the first leg of the journey back to Earth. "Ready?" Pat asked gently. "No," Maya said honestly. "But I guess it's time anyway." She turned to face the cubs. They stood in perfect formation, the way creche packs did for important moments. Their crests were showing rainbow patterns of sadness and pride and love. "Remember what we talked about," Maya said. "Every end is also a beginning. You're starting a new chapter where you spend more time with your father. That's good. And I'm going back to Earth to see my own family. That's good too. But we'll miss you," Kelvin said. "I'll miss you too. Every single day. But missing someone is proof that you love them. It means they mattered. So it's okay to be sad." Maya knelt down one more time and hugged each cub individually. She memorized how they felt. The warmth of their fur, the way their crests brushed against her face. Then she stood up and walked toward the docking bay entrance. She made herself not look back until she reached the doorway. When she finally turned around, the 3 cubs were sitting exactly as she had left them, but now they were howling. It wasn't the desperate, panicked howling from that first crisis. This was different. It was a goodbye howl, a promise howl, a sound that said, "We love you and we'll wait for you in your pack forever." The sound echoed through the entire station, and this time the staff didn't panic. They understood what it meant. Maya raised her hand in farewell. Then she stepped through the doorway and let it close behind her. On the transport, strapped into her seat as the ship prepared to depart, Maya stared out the window at the massive Academy station floating in space. Somewhere in there, 3 cubs were probably still sitting in that spot, waiting to make sure her ship actually left before they moved on with their day. "You did good work here," Pat said from the seat beside her. "I just helped 3 kids who needed someone," Maya replied. "You changed how the entire galaxy thinks about cooperation and accommodation. That's more than just helping 3 kids." Maya supposed that was true. The Sullivan Protocol was already being taught to diplomats across Council space. Stations were redesigning their facilities to accommodate different species' needs. The next generation of students at diplomatic academies would grow up in environments that honored their differences instead of trying to erase them. But to Maya, it would always come back to 3 scared cubs hiding behind glowing ferns. and one human who decided to sit down and offer friendship. The transport pulled away from the station. Maya watched through the window until Verithos Prime was just a small point of light among millions of stars. "I'll come back," she whispered, even though no one but Pat could hear her. "I promise," and she meant it. The galaxy was huge and complicated and full of differences that seemed impossible to bridge. But Maya had learned something important during her 6 months at the academy. Those differences didn't have to divide people. With patience, consistency, and genuine care, any barrier could be overcome. Humans and Kresh were very different species. They had different biologies, different cultures, different needs. But 3 Kresh cubs and 1 human woman had proven that none of that mattered when it came to family. Pack wasn't about being the same. It was about showing up, keeping promises, and choosing to care even when it was difficult. Maya closed her eyes and settled into her seat for the long journey home. She was leaving behind 3 cubs who had changed her life. But she was also carrying their lessons with her. Lessons about connection and adaptation and the power of simple kindness. Somewhere behind her, on a station orbiting a distant star, 3 Kresh cubs were adjusting to life without their pack mother. They were sad, but they were coping. They had their father now, who had learned to balance his important work with time for his children. They had friends from a dozen different species. They had confidence and social skills and the knowledge that they could thrive anywhere, and they had a promise. In less than a year, their pack mother would come to visit them on their homeworld. She would keep that promise just like she had kept every other promise she had made to them. Because that's what Pack did. They showed up. They says,